My dear friends, before we chase applause, before we run after titles and trophies, let me ask you something gentle but powerful. When was the last time you truly stood in front of yourself and said, I am enough? Not when you achieved something, not when someone praised you, but simply because you exist. You see, we live in a world that teaches us to measure our worth by noise, by numbers, by opinions, by comparison. Yet the greatest truth remains quiet. Success does not begin in the spotlight. It begins in the mirror. It begins in the tender, courageous decision to love the person staring back at you. And tonight, I invite you to explore a truth that can change everything. Success is not built on hustle alone, nor on talent alone, nor even on opportunity. Success, real and lasting success, starts with self-love. Self-love is the foundation of every lasting success, not the loud kind of love that boasts or demands attention, but the quiet, steady kind that whispers, keep going, when the world says, give up. It is the soil beneath your dreams. Without it, ambition becomes exhaustion. Without it, achievement feels hollow. But with it, even the smallest victory tastes sweet because it is rooted in worth that does not waver. So many of us were taught to earn love. We learned to behave for it, to achieve for it, to shrink or stretch for it. And somewhere along the way, we began to believe that success would finally make us deserving. We told ourselves, when I reach that level, when I earn that money, when they recognize me, then I will be proud of who I am. But success built on self-doubt is a fragile house. The first storm of criticism, the first wind of failure, and it trembles. When you do not love yourself, every setback feels like proof that you were never enough to begin with. Self-love changes that story. It teaches you to see failure not as a verdict, but as a lesson. It allows you to stand tall in your imperfections, knowing that growth does not require self-hatred. When you love yourself, you stop punishing your mistakes and start learning from them. You stop chasing validation and start pursuing purpose. And that shift, oh, that shift, is where real success begins to bloom. A person who loves themselves does not settle for crumbs. They set boundaries, not out of arrogance, but out of understanding. They know their energy is precious. They know their time is sacred. They walk away from what diminishes them and walk toward what nourishes them. That courage to choose yourself again and again builds a resilience that no external reward can give. It creates a strength that does not collapse under pressure because it is anchored in self-respect. And let me tell you something tender and true. Loving yourself is not always easy. It is an act of bravery. It means forgiving yourself for the days you stumbled. It means speaking kindly to yourself when the world is harsh. It means looking at your scars and seeing survival instead of shame. That kind of love is not weakness. It is power in its purest form. When you wake up each morning and decide that you are worthy of your own compassion, you lay another brick in the foundation of your success. When you refuse to compare your journey to someone else's timeline, you strengthen that foundation. When you celebrate your progress, no matter how small, you reinforce it. And over time, that inner stability becomes unshakable. Success that begins with self-love does not depend on applause. It does not fade when the lights dim. It is steady because it grows from within. When you honor yourself, believe in yourself, and stand by yourself, you create a life that reflects that belief. And that is the kind of success that lasts, not because the world approves, but because your soul does. You cannot pour greatness into the world from an empty soul. A dry well cannot quench a village's thirst, no matter how noble its intention. In the same way, a weary heart cannot create lasting impact, no matter how ambitious the dream. We have been praised for sacrifice, applauded for overworking, admired for pushing beyond our limits, but rarely are we taught the sacred responsibility of refilling ourselves. We give and give until our smiles grow thin and our passion turns into pressure. Then we wonder why success feels heavy instead of joyful. An empty soul does not happen overnight. It happens slowly, in the quiet moments when you ignore your own needs. It happens when you silence your own voice to please others. It happens when you trade rest for recognition and authenticity for approval. You wake up one day surrounded by accomplishments, yet feeling strangely disconnected from them. That is the cost of pouring from a place that has never been replenished. True greatness is not born from exhaustion, it is born from wholeness. When your soul is nourished, your work carries light. When your spirit is cared for, your ideas carry depth. When you love yourself enough to rest, to reflect, to heal, you begin to create from abundance rather than desperation. And there is a difference. Oh, there is a difference you can feel. Work done from emptiness seeks applause. Work done from fullness seeks impact. To fill your soul requires intention. It means making space for silence in a noisy world. It means protecting your peace as fiercely as you protect your goals. It means feeding your mind with words that uplift rather than diminish. It means allowing yourself joy without guilt. These are not luxuries, they are necessities. They are the quiet rituals that keep your inner well from running dry. When you take time to nurture yourself, you are not falling behind. You are building strength. When you say no to what drains you, you are saying yes to what sustains you. When you choose healing over hustle, you are choosing longevity over burnout. The world may not always understand this wisdom, but your spirit will, and your spirit is the source of everything you hope to offer. Imagine the difference between a candle flickering in the wind and a steady flame protected by glass. One struggles to survive, the other illuminates the room with calm assurance. That protective glass is self-love. It shields your energy, guards your passion, and ensures that your light does not go out while trying to brighten someone else's path. You were not created to live depleted. You were not designed to break yourself in the name of achievement. You were meant to thrive, to glow, to give from a place of overflow. And when your soul is full of compassion for yourself, full of belief in your worth, full of quiet confidence, then and only then can you pour greatness into the world without losing yourself in the process. The way you speak to yourself shapes your destiny. Long before the world places a label upon you, you have already whispered 1,000 names into your own spirit. Some of those names have lifted you, others have quietly limited you. And though no one else may hear those inner conversations, they echo through every decision you make, every risk you take, and every dream you dare to chase. There is a voice inside you that never rests. It is there in the early morning when you are deciding whether to rise or retreat. It is there at night when you replay the day's mistakes. That voice can be a gentle guide, or it can be a relentless critic. If it constantly reminds you of what you lack, you will begin to move through life as though you are lacking. If it tells you that you are incapable, you will hesitate at doors that were meant to open for you. But if it speaks with patience and courage, you will find yourself attempting things you once thought impossible. Many of us inherited a harsh inner voice. It may sound like past criticism, old rejection, or moments when we were made to feel small. Without realizing it, we carry those tones into our present. We say, I am not smart enough, I always fail, this is too big for me. And with each repetition, those words sink deeper into the soil of our identity. What we repeat, we reinforce. What we reinforce, we eventually become. But here is the quiet miracle. You can change the conversation. Destiny is not only shaped by circumstances, it is shaped by belief. And belief begins with language. When you choose to say, I am learning instead of I am failing, you shift your direction. When you say, I am worthy of this opportunity, instead of I do not belong here, you steady your steps. These are not empty affirmations, they are seeds. And seeds, when planted consistently, grow. Speaking kindly to yourself does not mean ignoring your flaws. It means addressing them without cruelty. It means correcting yourself without condemning yourself. A gardener does not shout at a plant for growing slowly. They water it. They give it sunlight. They trust the process. In the same way, you must tend to your own growth with care. Encouragement is not weakness, it is nourishment. Notice how differently you treat those you love. When a friend stumbles, you remind them of their strength. When they doubt themselves, you recall their victories. Imagine offering yourself that same grace. Imagine becoming your own source of reassurance instead of your own obstacle. That shift alone can alter the course of your life. Your destiny listens to your daily dialogue. If you speak defeat, you will walk toward defeat. If you speak possibility, you will begin to recognize opportunity where others see limitation. The world will challenge you, yes. There will be setbacks, disappointments, and moments of uncertainty. But if your inner voice remains steady and compassionate, you will not crumble under pressure. You will rise, not because the road is easy, but because your spirit has been strengthened by words that build rather than break. So choose your language with care. Let your inner voice be firm yet loving, honest yet hopeful. For in the quiet privacy of your thoughts, you are shaping the future you will one day step into. Self-respect sets the standard for how the world treats you. Before anyone else decides your value, you have already made that decision within yourself. The world is observant. It watches how you carry your boundaries, how you respond to disrespect, how you honor your own time and energy. And without a single announcement, it follows your lead. If you diminish yourself, others will feel permitted to do the same. If you stand firm in your dignity, even silence begins to defend you. Self-respect is not loud. It does not demand attention or seek validation. It is a quiet posture of the soul. It is the way you decline what dishonors you without apology. It is the way you refuse to shrink in rooms that test your confidence. It is the calm decision to walk away from what wounds your spirit, even when staying would be easier. That calm strength speaks volumes long before your words ever do. Too often, we confuse acceptance with tolerance. We endure treatment that bruises our confidence because we fear being alone or misunderstood. We laugh at jokes that belittle us. We say yes when our hearts are pleading for no. And in doing so, we slowly teach others that our comfort is negotiable. But self-respect redraws those lines. It reminds you that your peace is not a bargain to be struck. It reminds you that love without respect is not love at all. When you honor yourself, your decisions change. You choose environments that encourage your growth rather than stunt it. You align with people who celebrate your light instead of competing with it. You pursue opportunities that reflect your worth instead of settling for whatever is offered. Self-respect sharpens your discernment. It allows you to recognize when something is beneath your standards, not from arrogance, but from awareness. There will be moments when standing in self-respect feels lonely. Not everyone will applaud your boundaries. Some may call you distant when you are simply protecting your energy. Some may call you difficult when you are simply refusing to be diminished. But understand this, discomfort is often the price of dignity, and dignity is always worth the cost. When you respect yourself, you move differently. Your posture straightens, your voice steadies, your eyes no longer search for approval in every glance. You begin to realize that you are not here to convince the world of your value. You are here to embody it. That embodiment shifts the atmosphere around you. People respond to the confidence that does not beg, the kindness that does not bend beyond its limits. Self-respect also deepens your relationship with yourself. You stop betraying your own instincts. You listen when your intuition warns you. You forgive yourself when you fall short, yet you hold yourself accountable to grow. That balance between compassion and discipline builds a character that success cannot corrupt. In the end, the standard you set within becomes the standard reflected back to you. When you treat yourself with honor, patience, and care, you silently instruct the world to do the same. And even when someone fails to meet that standard, you will not crumble. You will simply step forward, carrying your dignity with you, knowing that your worth was never up for negotiation. Confidence grows where self-acceptance lives. It does not grow in the soil of comparison, nor does it bloom under the harsh light of perfectionism. True confidence is born the moment you stop fighting who you are and start embracing who you are becoming. It begins when you look at your reflection, not just the polished parts, but the flawed and fragile parts too, and say, "You are still worthy." That acceptance is the quiet beginning of an unshakable strength. Many people chase confidence as though it is something to be worn like a crown. They try to perform it, to imitate it, to project it loudly enough that no one notices their doubts. But borrowed confidence fades quickly. It trembles when challenged. It disappears when criticized. Real confidence, the kind that endures, is rooted much deeper. It grows from knowing yourself intimately and choosing not to abandon yourself. Self-acceptance means acknowledging your strengths without exaggeration and your weaknesses without shame. It means understanding that you are a work in progress and allowing that to be enough for today. When you accept your limitations, you free yourself from the exhausting need to pretend. When you accept your uniqueness, you stop trying to fit into molds that were never designed for you, and in that freedom, confidence begins to stretch its wings. Consider how much energy is wasted trying to be someone else, trying to speak like them, dress like them, succeed like them. Comparison steals joy and replaces it with constant inadequacy. But when you accept your own path, your own rhythm, your own design, something shifts. You begin to move with ease rather than tension. You speak with clarity rather than hesitation. You act with intention rather than imitation. That natural alignment is what others recognize as confidence. Self-acceptance also transforms failure. When you do not accept yourself, failure feels like exposure. It feels like confirmation that you were never enough. But when you stand firmly in self-acceptance, failure becomes feedback. It becomes information, not identity. You can stumble without collapsing. You can be corrected without being crushed. That resilience strengthens your belief in yourself more than constant success ever could. There is great courage in saying, "This is who I am," not as a declaration of perfection, but as an acknowledgement of authenticity. You may not have every skill yet. You may not have achieved every dream, but you have a foundation, a deep, steady acceptance of your humanity. And from that foundation, confidence rises naturally, like a tree reaching toward sunlight. When you accept yourself, you no longer wait for permission to shine. You no longer silence your voice in rooms where it deserves to be heard. You no longer shrink to make others comfortable. Instead, you stand present, grounded in the truth that you are enough as you grow. That is the birthplace of lasting confidence. And once confidence is rooted in self-acceptance, it cannot easily be uprooted. Criticism may shake its branches, but it will not destroy its core. Doubt may whisper, but it will not dictate your steps, because you have already made peace with yourself, and from that peace, a powerful certainty continues to rise. Your worth is not earned by achievements, it fuels them. Long before you ever reached for a goal, long before you collected applause or titles, you were already worthy. Yet somewhere along the journey, many of us began to reverse that truth. We started believing that value comes after victory, that we must prove ourselves into deserving love, respect, and belonging. We tied our identity to outcomes, as though success were a receipt confirming our importance. But achievements are expressions of worth, not the source of it. A trophy does not create your value. It reflects the effort of someone who was already valuable. When you believe your worth must be earned, You live in constant tension. Every accomplishment becomes temporary relief. Every failure feels like personal bankruptcy. You find yourself running endlessly, chasing the next milestone to feel complete again. That kind of striving exhausts the spirit. When you understand that your worth fuels your achievements, everything shifts. You no longer work to become enough. You work because you already are enough. You pursue excellence not out of desperation, but from inspiration. There is joy in that difference. There is freedom in that perspective. You begin to see your talents as gifts to be expressed, not tools to secure approval. Think of a flame. It burns because it contains fire within itself. It does not beg the darkness to validate its light. In the same way, your accomplishments shine because there is already light inside you. The degree you earn, the business you build, the art you create, these are extensions of an inner richness that existed long before the world recognized it. When you remember that, your confidence steadies. You are no longer shaken by comparison because you are not competing for worth. This understanding also softens failure. If worth is earned, then failure threatens identity. But if worth is inherent, failure simply becomes part of the journey. You can attempt boldly because your value is not at stake. You can take risks without fearing that a misstep will define you. You can learn without feeling diminished. That security creates courage, and courage creates growth. There will always be new goals to chase. There will always be higher mountains to climb. But if you attach your worth to every summit, you will never rest. Even at the peak, you will be looking anxiously toward the next ascent. Instead, let your worth be the ground beneath your feet. Let it be stable, unwavering, independent of circumstance. From that steady ground, you can climb with strength rather than strain. You are not valuable because you succeed. You succeed because there is something valuable within you, something persistent, creative, resilient. When you operate from that truth, your work becomes more authentic. Your ambition becomes healthier. Your victories become sweeter because they are no longer carrying the heavy burden of defining you. So release the belief that you must earn the right to exist proudly. Release the exhausting bargain that says, I will love myself when I achieve. Love yourself now. Stand firmly in your inherent worth now. And from that place, let your achievements rise naturally, powered not by insecurity, but by the deep, unshakable knowledge that you have always been enough. Boundaries are an act of self-love, not selfishness. They are the invisible lines that protect your peace, your time, your energy, and your spirit. Yet so many of us struggle to draw them because we fear being misunderstood. We worry that saying no will make us seem unkind. We worry that stepping back will make us seem distant. But a life without boundaries is a life constantly invaded, constantly drained, constantly bending until it nearly breaks. When you love yourself, you begin to recognize what nourishes you and what depletes you. You become aware of conversations that leave you heavy, environments that shrink your light, commitments that exhaust your joy. And instead of enduring them silently, you choose differently, not with anger, not with arrogance, but with clarity. That clarity is not cruelty, it is care. There is a difference between selfishness and self-preservation. Selfishness takes from others without concern. Self-love, however, understands that you cannot continuously give what you do not have. When you establish boundaries, you are ensuring that what you offer comes from sincerity rather than resentment. You are protecting the quality of your giving. You are choosing to show up whole instead of fractured. Some people may resist your boundaries. They may prefer the version of you who always said yes, who always adjusted, who always sacrificed. Growth often disrupts comfort, but discomfort does not mean you are wrong. It often means you are finally honoring yourself. And that honor builds a quiet confidence that strengthens every area of your life. Boundaries also teach others how to treat you. When you calmly decline what disrespects your time, you communicate that your time has value. When you walk away from conversations that belittle you, you demonstrate that your dignity is not negotiable. When you prioritize rest instead of constant availability, you affirm that your well-being matters. These actions speak louder than explanations ever could. It takes courage to set boundaries, especially if you have spent years pleasing others. It may feel unfamiliar at first, you may question yourself, but with each boundary you uphold, you reinforce your self-trust. You begin to believe that your needs are not inconveniences. They are valid, they are human, and they deserve acknowledgement. Healthy boundaries do not isolate you. They refine your relationships. They create space for mutual respect. They allow love to flourish without resentment. They invite connections built on understanding rather than obligation. And in that environment, your spirit feels lighter, freer, stronger. When you practice boundaries, you are not building walls to shut the world out. You are building doors that open intentionally. You decide what enters your life and what does not. You choose the energy you allow to surround you. That choice is powerful. Loving yourself means protecting yourself. It means recognizing that your heart, your mind, and your time are sacred spaces. And when you treat them as sacred, others begin to see them that way too. Boundaries are not barriers to success. They are bridges to it. They preserve your strength so that when you step forward to pursue your dreams, you do so with clarity, balance, and unwavering self-respect. When you choose yourself, success begins to choose you. Not because the world suddenly becomes easier, but because you stop abandoning your own path. For too long, many of us have made decisions rooted in fear, fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of standing alone. We have shaped our dreams to fit other people's expectations. We have silenced our instincts to keep the peace, and in doing so, we have slowly drifted away from the very person we are meant to become. Choosing yourself is a quiet revolution. It is the moment you decide that your voice deserves to be heard, even if it trembles. It is the moment you honor your calling, even if others do not understand it. It is the courage to pursue what sets your soul on fire, instead of what simply looks impressive from the outside. That decision may not always be applauded, but it will always be empowering. When you choose yourself, you begin to align your life with your truth. You stop chasing goals that do not belong to you. You stop shrinking to fit spaces that cannot hold your greatness. You become intentional with your time, your energy, and your relationships. And alignment creates momentum. It creates a natural flow where your actions and your values move in harmony. That harmony is magnetic. Success is not merely attracted to talent, it is drawn to authenticity. When you operate from a place of self-betrayal, your efforts feel scattered. You doubt yourself at every turn. But when you stand firmly in who you are, your energy becomes focused. Your decisions become clearer. You move with conviction rather than confusion. And that conviction opens doors that hesitation once kept closed. Choosing yourself also means trusting your timing. It means understanding that your journey does not need to mirror anyone else's. Comparison loses its grip when you are confident in your direction. You no longer rush to keep up, nor do you delay out of insecurity. You move steadily, knowing that every step taken in alignment with your truth is a step towards something meaningful. There will be sacrifices. Choosing yourself may require letting go of approval. It may require walking away from comfort. It may require disappointing others who benefited from your silence. But every sacrifice made in honor of your growth plants a seed for future fulfillment. Each time you stand by your own worth, you strengthen your foundation. And something remarkable happens when you consistently choose yourself. Opportunities begin to reflect that choice. You attract environments that respect your standards. You draw connections that honor your boundaries. You discover paths that resonate with your purpose. It is not magic, it is alignment. The world responds differently when you show up fully present in your own identity. Success that finds you in this state feels different. It feels earned, yet not forced. It feels steady, yet not suffocating. It feels like a natural extension of who you are rather than a mask you must maintain, because you did not chase it at the cost of yourself. You invited it by standing firmly within yourself. So choose yourself again and again, in small decisions and large ones, in quiet moments and public ones. And as you do, watch how life begins to meet you with the same commitment you have finally shown to yourself.